I have talked a lot of shit about The Last of Us Part 2 and The Last of Us Remake. Every chance I got was an opportunity for me to upset a group of fans. An opportunity I was never really willing to let go, and the thing is, I've actually played both games multiple times. Believe it or not, I can actually recall the story, as well as both large and small gameplay moments of The Last of Us Part 2. I probably know that game as well as I know some of my favorite games. That is what making sure you have a bulletproof argument against those who absolutely love something will do to you. If you plan to upset fans, you gotta do it in a smart or comical way. I didn't always do that, but it did make my knowledge of both these titles stronger. I'll admit it, I'm a little toxic at times. Messing with other people became more enjoyable than the game itself, but it also helped that while I still think The Last of Us Part 2's story wasn't as good as far as a sequel goes, it was still fun as hell to play. The amounts of details, blood, gore, the reactions of the people you're up against was all amazing. Seeing a wall covered in blood behind someone after landing a headshot, or seeing a bullet wound actually ooze blood in real time, or an exit wound being larger than the entry wound. These were all elements that kept me thoroughly engaged, and I just had to kill every single enemy type with every single weapon in the game to witness firsthand what the gore system would reward me with. Yeah, the serial killer in me was just going completely apeshit with the graphics here. And then after beating the game, I had my moments where I turn on infinite ammo, and then jokingly start playing like it was Call of Duty, drop-shotting everything. The gameplay was solid, so when I heard the original Last of Us was getting remade, just like everyone else, my first thought was, again? Why? Seems like a waste of time and resources for both Sony and for Naughty Dog. The game was already remastered on the PlayStation 4, and that version still holds up incredibly well. Why not slap us with some type of update that allowed us to unlock the frame rate and run the game at, I don't know, 120 frames, and call it a day? It also seemed a bit brave considering all the shit they got for The Last of Us Part 2, to then come out and say, hey, we're gonna go ahead and remake the first game for the third time. I don't know, that was kind of funny to me. Then the price was just comical. It really is a graphical mod with some slight gameplay changes, but nothing major. At least not $70 worth major. As previously stated, I played this game twice, and on my first playthrough, I was in awe. I wouldn't necessarily say this is what I remember the original game looking like when I played it, as now we're dealing with ultra realistic looking graphics and characters, and the original, even the PlayStation 4 remaster, had a unique art style to it that, while not super realistic, it did have a look to it that helped it stand out a little bit more, at least in my eyes. It was a nice artistic take, I think. The remake at times did definitely feel almost entirely new, but that's because I haven't played the original in years, and even with feeling that, knowing the price makes me feel like I've thrown money away to experience something I already have experienced before. This is an analogy that keeps popping up in my head, makes no damn sense, but I'm gonna say it anyways. Buying the remake for $70 to me is like the equivalent of paying someone else to let me raise my own kid. Why would I do that? Especially when I could just have that original first-hand experience for free. I mean, the remastered PlayStation 4 version is actually given away for free on PlayStation 5 with the PlayStation Plus subscription. It's actually part of the Classic Collection. So for $10, you can play the remastered along with other badass PlayStation 4 games, all $50 cheaper. I wonder if Sony actually forgot about that. Which you would think would actually make it even harder to sell someone on that $70 price tag. With that in mind, who the hell was this remake really for, besides Sony executives undeniably trying to come up on a quick buck? I'd say it's for those that are really all about the graphics. I mean, after beating the game, it did make me want to go back and play The Last of Us Part 2, so it does have a nice feel to make The Last of Us series start to feel like a real staple on the PlayStation, and in a year or so's time, hopefully along with the price reduction, it'll make both of these games establish itself as ones that'll absolutely push Sony's hardware to its absolute limit. This game is hard because it's really one that came out, close to a decade ago? It is a great game. That's something that you can't really deny. I mean, I guess you can say that subjectively speaking, considering video games are art. Art is subjective, but narratively, it's solid and probably one of my favorite games of all time. But there's nothing entirely different from the PlayStation 3 to the PlayStation 5 experience, with the exception of what we're slowly getting accustomed to with the newer hardware. You know, better graphics, better load times, very slight changes to help it run into The Last of Us Part 2 and make them both feel as if the two are ones that were always expected to work together, and feel as if a sequel is what Naughty Dog was planning from even before the original came out many years ago. I'm more afraid of anything of things like this becoming a norm. Companies offering remakes or remasters at the price of a full brand new AAA game. And going back to the fact that the PlayStation 4 remastered version is basically free, I believe with the DLC as well, I see this more as a test of what people are and aren't willing to go for, and how these types of products will be prioritized and priced in the future. If Naughty Dog had offered maybe an epilogue or quote-unquote DLC along with this, where we got to experience the time frame between The Last of Us Part 1 and The Last of Us Part 2. A little bit of an epilogue narrative where we saw Joel and Ellie and how they became more involved with Tommy in the settlement there, and how their relationships blossomed between everybody at the camp. And then the original Last of Us, as well as the Left Behind DLC, was just tacked on along with that. I still don't think it would be completely worth the $70, even if that experience was a solid 12 hours. But even then, it would be a better argument versus, hey, this is exactly the same game you got almost a decade ago with just visual improvements and some slight gameplay alterations to feel more similar to The Last of Us Part 2. Like always, that's just the way I'm thinking. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Have you guys played The Last of Us Part 1 remake? Have you been eyeing it? What are your thoughts? Do you not mind price tag, or do you think this is something that's just blown completely out of proportion? What do you think they would have to do to justify that price tag? I think that's a better question. I'll be keeping a close eye on the comments, but like always guys, my name is Cynic. Thank you all so much for watching. Until next time, I'll see you all later.